Jorge, I don't know. This is my first time dressing up for a snatch, and, well, I just don't want to let anyone... Hey, dolls, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 4, Episode 6. And before we get to it, I need to thank some tipper-doos. DJ Tenson thanked me for the laughs and validating the opinions that they've had watching this season with their tipper-doo. You know what, DJ? Have your opinion. You're so welcome to having your own opinion. It's one of the few things any of us really ever have. And it wouldn't be a tipper-doo shout-out if I didn't thank my tipper-doo boyfriend, Vito. I love you, Vito! I also have a Redbubble model to worship. This is one of my Patreoners, Martha Grunwald's cat, Wendy. Bless her. Look at her. It's having a stretch out on Martha's newly bought Maple Days and Kiss of the Spider-Doo images, which she got on sweatshirts for fall from my Redbubble store. Thanks for the photo, Martha. If you would like to get either of these images from my Redbubble store, the link is down below. Cat not included. Now, on to the fun stuff. Jorge, drink me! What is that? Oh, a Cuba Libre. Because Ricardo is from Cuba. Oh my God, Babalu indeed. Well done, Jorge. I don't give you a lot of credit, but every once in a while you surprise even me, I'm just gonna say. Okay, so let's get to it. Needless to say, there was a different mood in the workroom this week. The remaining queens were gooped and gagged at Baby's self-elimination, but they all agreed that it was more important for her to take time to take care of herself. Although, I'm sure Dakota was feeling just a titchy touch of relief that she was still in the game. Not that I thought she was going to be eliminated, but I'm just saying. The next day in the workroom, Jonbers got red for being the only queen who didn't have a badge, while Peppa practically took a blood oath to win another one. She will know the reason why! Scared? That's when Ru's video message interrupted the queens, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm just going to get right to it. Obtuse message aside, and the fact that she showed up without a mini challenge, which she knows I hate, she was redeemed when she announced that this week it was the Snatch Game. Hooray! Although LaPhil didn't seem too pleased to hear this. She must be aware of the same truth as Cheddar. If you succeed at Snatch Game, you're forever adored. But if you fail, you're forever shunned. She's not wrong. Also, Forever Shunned was the name of my fringe play. The queens didn't waste any time hauling out their celebrity impersonations for all to see. LaPhil may not have been looking forward to this challenge, but she seemed well prepared for it nonetheless. She told Pixie that she had a choice between impersonating Marie Kondo or Posh Spice. Apparently, LaPhil did a tour with Mel C and played Posh on stage, so really that should just be her go-to, don't you think? Seriously. But LaPhil also wanted to represent her Asian community and thought Miss Kondo would be the way to go. Either way, neither of these women are known for being funny, and let's face it, neither is LaPhil. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't have it. Danny seemed to have only one choice for her snatch. Music manager and Ireland's Got Talent judge, Louis Walsh. And although Danny seemed to have her performance as Louis down, LaPhil and Pixie seemed nonplussed, which is a fancy word for meh. Jonbers was super excited for Snatch Game, which, let's face it, is the only way to approach the snatch. If you're worried in the slightest, it's all over but the crying. Jonbers was planning to do Irish pop star and sleep aid Anya. Hey, as long as she makes Ru laugh as opposed to putting her in a coma, works for me. Ru popped by to check on the queens and judge their choices, and she brought a friend. Two-time Snatch Game winner, Bag of Chips. Their first stop was with LaPhil and Pixie. Ru seemed more interested in LaPhil doing Posh Spice, but when they started talking about how anal Marie Kondo is, well, Ru seemed to warm up to the idea. Of course, being anal makes most people warm. Well, I mean, that's what Jorge tells me. Pixie had one look and one look only. Shirley Bassey. Right away, Ru mentioned that The kids don't think it's a good thing when white people play people of color, which I can say was the most subtle way for Rue to say, oh no, she better don't. I don't want to get into Pixie's performing history or why she thought Dame Bassie was the best choice for her, but let me tell you, if I'd been her and Rue had said that, I'd be picking a new celebrity to impersonate before Baga could say much better. Seriously. Next for a visit were Black Pepper, Cheddar Gorgeous, Cheddar. I always say Black Pepper, Cheddar. Black Pepper. Next for a visit were Black Pepper, Cheddar Gorgeous, and Dakota Schiffer. Right away, Rue was drawn to Peppa's bejeweled chapeaux, which Peppa was using to become Lil Nas X. Did I say that? Rue was intrigued because, well, Peppa almost had a blank slate to build her character on, and as comforting as that may be, Peppa admitted to Rue that she knows she's not good at comedy challenges, so she was going to have to push herself for this one. I don't know. I thought she was pretty funny in Cattyman, no? Cheddar had two fabulous wigs in front of her, Queen Elizabeth I and a lavender Quentin Crisp. And if you don't know who Quentin Crisp is, well, you're very, very young and we can't be friends. I have to say I was looking forward to Cheddar playing either character because, well, she's so clever, but her humor is very, very dry. And if she's too cerebral or makes too vague a reference, well, it could all backfire. I'm so serious. I must admit I was super surprised by Dakota's choice to do Pete Burns. More specifically, Pete Burns on Celebrity Big Brother. Have you seen that season? It's fantastic. And mostly because of Pete Burns and his surly, unedited attitude. I'll put a link to an episode down below in the description box. Seriously, it's a hoot. I also thought it was a good choice for Dakota because no one has more rough edges than Pete Burns. If ever Dakota was going to show her range, this could very well be it. Seriously. I have to say I found it a little sad that Jonbers and Danny visited with Rue and Baga together, only because their reactions to Rue's suggestions were so different. Rue wasn't feeling Jonbers' choice of Enya and wondered why, as a proud Irish queen, she wasn't doing a dragged-out version of St. Patrick. To Jonbers' credit, so did she. Her attitude was, if Rue likes it, I'm doing it. That's a winner. That's a winner talking right there. Danny, on the other hand, did her impression of Louis Walsh to see if Rue would get it. She didn't. Of course she didn't. Rue couldn't care less about British television. She thought Danny was doing Cela Black. Even when Danny told her who it was, I could tell Rue had no idea who she was talking about. Either way, Rue's lack of interest cut Danny to her core. Personally, I don't think she ever recovered. But the biggest casualty of Rue's visit was Black Peppa. She was so stressed over having to be funny that she was actually looking like she was going to throw up. Bless Jonbers. She gave Peppa the pep talk to end all pep talks. And she didn't stop till Peppa had a smile on her face. That's it. Now, I want Jonbers to be my friend too. You're a good girl, Jonbers, just saying. Of course, Danny was bricking it too. I feel like Danny thought this challenge would be a no-brainer for her, but when she didn't get the reaction she was expecting from Pixie, LaPhil, and more importantly, Rue, her confidence just started to crumble. Even the other queens couldn't seem to get Danny back on track. Seriously. Then, suddenly, it was Snatch Game! The contestants were AJ Adudu and Tess Daly from Strictly Come Dancing, but for me, the stars of this show were Cheddar Gorgeous as Queen Elizabeth I and Jonbers Blonde as St. Patrick's sister Patty. Oh my God. As I said, I was worried for Cheddar and how her dry sense of humor would translate, especially playing an historic figure like Betty I. But she killed it. From her fabulously rotting mouth of British teeth to her insane chortle every time she opened that festering gob, she was hilarity in its finest form. And on top of that, she was funny. Here's the Cheddar Gorgeous. Well done. I'll tell you, Snatch. Jonbers did a fantastic job too. For someone who changed her character at the last minute, I was impressed because that wasn't the case for everyone who made a last minute change. Danny Beard. Plus, can I just say, I thought Jonbers looked gorgeous. And not because she was portraying a redhead, although it does help. Dakota Schiffer was my next favorite. I thought her Pete Burns was spot on. She was churlish, she was bored, she wouldn't stop smoking, and most importantly, she was funny. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting much from Dakota, and there she goes impressing me again. Seriously. Poor Pixie. If anyone needed to be funny to justify their Snatch Game choice, it was her, and, well, she wasn't. I think it was because she was trying too hard to be the real Shirley Bassey, and what we needed here was a caricature. Clearly, Pixie was too scared to insult the legend on national TV, bless. LaFille's biggest fail in her portrayal of Marie Kondo was having a translator in her ear. It totally cut her off from what was going on in the room. I feel if LaFille had shown Marie to actually know English and that her calm demeanor on TV was a put-on, she might have done better. You can say. God, Black Peppa wasn't kidding when she said she wasn't funny. Lil Nas X impersonation aside, nothing Pep said was funny. Her punchline for one joke was water. No setup, no double entendre, just water. If she'd been smart, she would have turned that lack of humor into a character trait, but she didn't. My heart just broke for Danny Beard as Cilla Black. She was never on solid ground during the Snatch Game, and that's because I feel her Snatch Game choice was last minute, and it always came off as frantic. She was overly loud and, well, hard to understand because of those comedy teeth. And remember this, Children of the Corn, doubt is a terrible thing when it comes to performing. Own it, get off the stage. Seriously. The next day, as the queens were getting ready for the runway, Cheddar had a fabulous teaching moment telling Dakota and the room about ACT and its owning of the pink triangle in their reclamation of hate speech to promote their cause and charity. I am so glad that Cheddar brought up the concept of HIV being an issue of the past because it isn't. There's still no cure. Yes, we've made great grounds in developing drugs that help manage the disease beautifully, but there still is no cure. Gay, straight, or anywhere in between, listen to your Auntie Wilma and play safe. Seriously! 2020, why are we still saying this? On the main stage, Rue was looking stunning in silver. Michelle was perfection in purple. Alan was back in a stunning plaid jacket. And joining the judges this week, the spiciest of the Spice Girls, Mel B. Category is Pickle Pink. Dakota Schiffer was first, looking like a pink Tinkerbell. I love this look, although I will say she could have dragged this look up a bit more with her makeup and her hair. Still, Fingerdoo for Dakota. I loved Black Peppa's look, but not for this category. And then, well, she admitted to not liking pink, and it made a lot more sense to me, but it's too bad that that wig thing wasn't able to be made out of actual cotton candy because I found stuffing it a little distracting. I still gave it a Fingerdoo, don't judge me. I loved Pixie's take on Rue's pink racing suit. I thought she looked absolutely adorable, so I totally gave her a Fingerdoo. And then Cheddar Gorgeous took the stage and it was all over. This look was so avant-garde and such a showstopper. Message aside, this took my breath away. And then there was that message, silence equals death. Such a poignant look for this category. Michelle's face said it all. Fingerdoo for Cheddar, seriously. Look at her. I like Danny's look, but it didn't blow my skirt up. I'm sure there's a special reason why she paints her face white, nothing else, but her skin tone at her neckline ruined this look for me. To be honest, she looked like an extra from Jim Carrey's The Grinch, so Fingerdoo for Danny. That's what you get for fisting chickens. The worst thing about Jombra's runway was her trying to make a reveal out of it. Her holding up her skirt over her head isn't a reveal, more of a lifestyle, really. I'd have been happier if she just walked out on stage in the finished look. Still, that finished look was more than worth a Fingerdoo, I'm just saying. I'm just going to go ahead and say that LaFille's runway was my fave of the night. I loved the umbrella hat. I loved the tent concept for the dress. I loved all of it. Fingerdoo for LaFille. I'm also just going to say she posted pictures of herself in that dress in a field with more of the tent supports in it, and they are stunning. Seriously, check them out. And then it was time to be raked across the coals. Well, except for Dakota and Danny, who were safe and more than happy to get the frig out of there. Seriously. As for the queens left on the stage, it was very clear that Cheddar was the queen to beat. The judges raved not only about her brilliant Snatch Game, but for her powerful runway. I was touched when Michelle thanked Cheddar for making such a powerful statement. Clearly, it's a good week to be Cheddar. Just saying. Jonbers was a clear favorite as well, and so she should be. They loved her stereotypical caricature of an Irish icon, and Rue just loved her makeup. Again! A good week to be Jonbers blonde, apparently, too. What sucked was being Black Peppa, Pixie, and LaFille, who were clearly all in the bottom. The judges agreed that Peppa's little Naz just wasn't funny, but that didn't stop Mel from making everything awkward with a little flirting. I didn't get it. Pixie's Snatch seemed to be only slightly better received, but the judges all agreed she didn't go big enough with it. LaFille was another one whose Snatch wasn't funny. In fact, they thought she was boring. What wasn't boring was her runway. Rue called it gorgeous. Back in the Untucked lounge, Pixie was wallowing in her negative critiques, poor thing. Peppa was owning her failure and was ready to throw it down in the lip sync. LaFille was okay with her negative critiques for her performance because she was over the moon with the positive comments with her wardrobe. But I think Jonbers and Cheddar downplayed how chuffed they were to have done so well, so as not to lord it over those who were less stellar. Smart. Back on the main stage, as expected, Rue announced that Cheddar was this week's well-deserved winner, and so she should be. Cheddar killed it this week, and not just in the Snatch Game, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I was sorry that Jonbers had to settle for a close second. Again! Fingerdoo's crossed that she's able to grab herself a RuPaul badge next week. I'm so serious. As for the bottom two, it was Black Peppa and LaFille, much to Pixie's relief, I'm sure. This week, the queens had to lip sync to Stop by the Space Geckles. This was a fun lip sync. It really got going when Peppa lost her hat wig and LaFille stepped out of that dress. But LaFille didn't stop there. She also took off her shoes, and then she became like an acrobatic gymnast of some sort with that yellow fabric. The whole time that was going on, Black Peppa was throwing it down. And by it, I mean her pussy. That thing hit the stage more times than in the history of the show. I'm so serious. Regular splits, jump splits, death drops, and shablams. Pep didn't hold anything back. So I, for one, wasn't surprised that Rue told her to Shantae. And sadly, it was LaFille who had to stand away. No, still nothing. I'm so sorry to see LaFille go. I, for one, am going to really miss her. How about you? Do you agree that it was LaFille's time to go, or should she have even been in the bottom? How about Black Peppa? She is desperate for a second RuPaul badge. Will that desperation fuel her fire or trip her up? How about Danny Beard? After a solid showing, she had her first real misstep. Will she be able to pull herself back, or could this be a devastating blow to her ego? All we can do is tune in to RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 4 next week to see how it all plays out. And when you're done, you come on back and you see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and if you would like to help support me and this channel, all the links to do so are in the description box down below. Until next week, miss me! Seriously. You can tell we're at the halfway mark because it's when people start to crumble and others start to rise. There's always that thing that happens. I feel like Jonbers was just misunderstood right out of the gate. I don't know why. I remember her entrance look. I thought she looked great. But she just seems to have been kind of dismissed out of hand. And now she's had two really great showings. And hopefully the next one will be an actual badge for her at any rate. I hope it's a solo badge too. I'd like to see her just get her own. But Cheddar, oh, well deserved, well done. I'm so, I've lived so long, but when I was young, HIV, like when I was just sexually active, HIV and AIDS were starting. Like you could hear rumblings, and I was too uptight to have sex with people. I still am, and you're welcome. But I was just really not sexually active through all of that, and you know, a lot of my friends are of that age where they either weren't sexually active or weren't in big city centers where there was a lot of outbreak, you know. And so I'm not of a generation that has no friends my own age. All of my friends are my own age, but I certainly was aware of people of an age not being in the gay community. Like there seemed to be a cutoff age in the bars. Like they just didn't seem to be older than this. And it's not because they were shy to go out. So glad that Cheddar brought. We have to be safe and protect ourselves. Think of the children.